Hola a todos, buenos días. Gracias por acompañarnos a una sesión más de Encuentro Creativo. El día de hoy les damos la bienvenida a nuestra primera sesión de la semana. Antes de comenzar, les vamos a pasar un video de una de nuestras instituciones partner, FIDER.
Desde hace 50 años, FIDER promueve el desarrollo de nuestro país. Si estás estudiando o si planeas comenzar una especialidad, maestría o doctorado en alguna universidad de México o el extranjero, con FIDER puedes obtener un crédito educativo para cubrir o complementar tus gastos de colegiatura, sostenimiento o seguro médico. A partir de 2021 se puede solicitar el financiamiento para posgrados virtuales y la edad máxima de participación ahora es de 50 años. Consulta las bases y asegura que cumples con todos los requisitos. FIDER, el crédito educativo para comenzar un gran futuro.
Gracias a todos por acompañarnos esta mañana en esta primera sesión, la cual es en colaboración con la Rome University of Fine Arts. Ahora pasaremos unos mensajes de bienvenida del excelentísimo embajador Luigi de Chiara, el presidente y la directora de la Cámara.
Soy Luigi de Chiara, embajador de Italia en México. Soy muy feliz de presentar Encuentro Creativo con la presentación de la oferta formativa de estas instituciones académicas en el campo de las industrias creativas italianas. Queremos ofrecer a todos los mexicanos no solo la posibilidad de mejorarse de un punto de vista técnico, sino también de saber dónde van las tendencias, cómo se ha construido el éxito del Made in Italy.
En la Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México estamos honrados de poder promover la oferta académica italiana entre los estudiantes mexicanos. Durante la primera edición, en las 2 semanas del evento, tuvimos más de 2.000 alumnos participantes y logramos un alcance en redes sociales de más de 1 millón de personas. Este proyecto nos brinda la oportunidad de acercar México e Italia, 2 naciones amigas y que tienen muchísimo que ofrecer en materia de creatividad y diseño. Disfruten de todas las actividades que hemos planeado en coordinación con las mejores universidades de diseño que hay en Italia y junto con las marcas que nos apoyan en esta iniciativa.
Bienvenidos a esta segunda edición de Encuentro Creativo, que te permitirá conocer más acerca de la oferta académica que la capital de la moda y el diseño ofrece, Italia. Por favor, síguenos a lo largo de las conferencias de Encuentro Creativo. Muchísimas gracias y bienvenido.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias a todos por acompañarnos esta mañana. Antes de comenzar con la sesión, les daré una pequeña introducción de nuestro ponente. La sesión del día de hoy es titulada Visual Thinking as a Magnifying Glass, a Review of Methodologies and Working Tools to Re-Criticize and Curate Contemporary Art, la cual es llevada a cabo en colaboración con la Rome University of Fine Arts, la cual es una academia multidisciplinaria e internacional que ofrece cursos acreditados e innovadores en el campo de arte, diseño y cine. Nuestro ponente del día de hoy es Fabrizio Pizzuto, coordinador académico en el Master in Art Curating and Management en RUFA. Fabrizio es un crítico de arte siciliano, es profesor de Historia de Arte Contemporáneo y de Gestión del Arte. Se especializó en Historia del Arte Contemporáneo en la Escuela de Especialización de la Universidad de Siena, dirigida por Enrico Crispolti, con una tesis desarrollada tras una residencia en París en la Cité des Arts para Incontri Internacional de Arte en 2006. Es cofundador y encargado del espacio de exposición no convencional y de la plataforma online de crítica de arte Club. Colabora con la plataforma online Nation 2.0, con sede en Dubái, y en WebArt especializada en NFT. También participa en Inside Art Magazine con Le Franck Bougeot, en las residencias de artistas que tiene lugar en Roma, en el espacio Fondamenta. Participó en numerosos eventos artísticos en Italia y en el extranjero, incluyendo Videocast, Bienal de Arte de Barcelona, y bueno, ha sido como comisario invitado en 2013 y en 2009 como jurado en Re-Humanism. Ha dirigido exposiciones y escrito textos para galerías, exposiciones en Italia, en el extranjero, como Estados Unidos, Alemania y Cuba. Así que bueno, nuestro ponente del día de hoy tiene mucha experiencia en el campo. Esperamos que disfruten la sesión y al final daremos unos minutos para preguntas y respuestas. La sesión se llevará a cabo en inglés, así que, well, thank you so much, Fabrizio, for your assistance today, and we can start with the session.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to be here and start to share my screen. Of course, I'll thank you everybody for the opportunity and because you are so gentle with us. As you say, I am the coordinator of this master in art management and art curating, and we're starting to develop a new idea of not so new about management and curating, and we want to restart from the visual thinking. Of course, when you try to manage something, you had to know the tools. And sometimes I ask to my student why an image like this is on the manual of contemporary art history. Why or a painting on a church or on a cave, or why we find this in the manual of contemporary art. In this case, you don't have the artist. We don't know who is the artist. You don't have nothing to sell, nothing to buy, nothing. You don't have the gallerist. You don't have the art critic. And if we understand why any image is in the manual of art history, we understand what is the point to start to a rebirth of visual thinking. This is in the manual of art because the manual of art is the story of the visual language. And so any language talk with us about society, about ways of thinking of an era, of that particular moment of the history, and about a particular people, a particular nation. Starting with this, we had to understand the field of the composition. What I mean for the field of the composition, why we particular artists talk in a particular way, and I in some case I use some subject as a point to start to talk about something. In this case, in some case, I use the landscape, or I can use the monochrome or the color, or I can use the portrait. In this case, I want to use the naked or the nude, the figure of the woman, not just the naked, but particularly the naked. And this is a part of a longer lesson. And so I want to go in some particular moment and in some particular image, and why we use this particular image. They paint this particular image of a woman, and what we can learn, what we can understand in this image. In this image, there are a lot. We are in Venice. This is Tiziano. We are in the 16th century. And what we can note in this woman, she is without, I use this particular point because I wanna go until the present. And so it's just a moment to understand something in the difference between the present or the 20th or the 20th century or the century closer to us, and this moment. In this moment, the woman is a sort of property of the man, because she is without power, without force. She is on this bed a sort of without energy, and look at us in a voluptuous way, in a sensual way. And in this moment, there's the perspective as a field of composition. We will understand why closer to us we lost the perspective. What is the perspective? The perspective is to understand eye painting as a window. In this window, there's another world, and we are the owner of this world. We look at this world, a copy of the reality, like we can see everything in a right way. Today we know this is untrue. We are in the world in another way. I choose also La Maya Desnuda of Goya, because it's the same. Probably we don't know for sure who she is. Probably she is the lover of Goya, or maybe she is the lover of someone else, some noble, some aristocratic person, and Goya is just the painter of this woman. Also in this case, she is a sort of property. She is don't have personality, but she is related with the eye to the viewer. And this is a paint to cover the first painting. And so this is a sort of pornography in a way, a sort of secret of the second painting. Everything changed in probably in this moment and in this moment with Manet. I start with this and then I go back. In this moment, we're starting to lose the perspective, and this was a scandal. Today we know, we look at this painting as one of the famous paintings of the 18th century, but in that moment, in the same year, Cabanel painted this, the Venus that rises from the sea, and this is the most expensive painting of the century. This is the taste of the century. This is the revolution. The century is more related to this idea of woman, of painting, of perspective, this idea of to be related to the ancient and to the classicism. This is not so easy to understand. They look at this as a bad painting because we don't understand clearly from where the lights come on this subject. This is because Manet is more related to the Japan painting that, and so it's a sort of something else in the field of the composition. And so we are already starting to lose perspective and also to lose the idea of an entire world clearly at our disposition, but this world starting to go on the surface, starting to go closer to us. And what's happened to the woman? The woman is naked, but she's powerful. She looked at us, she had personality, and this is the real scandal. Is supposed to be a prostitute, and so this is the reason why she look at us in this way. She's on sale. We can buy, but in the same time, she's in the way of the Renaissance, because this kind of position and this kind of figure and the cat is a little related to this, to the dog, the pet, to this position, to divide the screen into part. And so he's starting to say something. This something is related to his society. You want to be like the ancient, you want to be the Renaissance, you want to be this, but you are something different. He's talking with the French people, to the Parisian people. You are something different. More clearly is this painting. It's a very strange painting, because why a woman has to be on a country or on a garden naked with dressed woman, with the men, and the men are completely well dressed. Maybe it's the same because she's a prostitute. No, a prostitute don't supposed to walk naked on a garden, but it's because you want to say to the Parisian people, you want to be something related to the Renaissance. Probably this is the birth of something completely new, a new way to speak a language, because it's not the way of the property, is not the way of the representation, is not the way of the portrait or the landscape, but is something in the mind, is something conceptual. And we are losing the idea of a window and a copy of reality and a painting talking about our property, our aristocratic way, our noblesse, but starting with the daily life and the surface of the thing, we see better this, and starting to the contemporary life, and to use everything, to use all the painting of the past. He used this, he used still Tiziano in this painting in Venice of the Renaissance, in the 16th century. The men are dressed and the women are naked. But in this moment is normal. In this moment is the idea of these particular people, of this particular ways of thinking, ways of visual thinking. Because it's a sort of Arcadia, a sort of different world. We paint as talking about a dream that we lost, something pure in the country, in this garden of happiness with naked woman. But when we do the same in this particular moment, everything is the same, but everything is different. Then he makes something else. This particular composition is exactly here. This is a copy from Raffaello. It's the Judgment of Paris. Paris shoes with an apple, the most beautiful woman of the world. And this situation is exactly the pose of this situation. So you want to say, you want to use the past in a new way. You try, Parisian people, you try to be the new Arcadia, the new Renaissance, but you don't look like this, you look like this. A little ridiculous, a little woman that won to be the owner, of a man that want to be the owner of the woman, but women are changing, and this is his friend. She is really a prostitute, and so, but she also a friend of Manet, and she's in the same exhibition of this painting, and she's there, and everybody knows who she is. And so this is one of the points I find to show something that come in a new direction until our society, to understand better what happened now in the field of the subject and in the field of the composition. Something different happened. I have a different painting because this is a part of the lesson. Something different we have also in the end of the century in the north of Europe with Munch, and in this moment also with Klimt, also with Munch. This is supposed to be a hug, but she's in the same time a sort of vampire. And in this moment, some feminist movement exists, and they start to saying something different about the man. And this particular painting, the woman is sacred, but in the same time is dangerous. She's dangerous. Also she is coming from the darkness, from the vampire. The men are scary maybe about this. This subject is from the Bible, Judith and Holofernes, but in the Bible, she cut the head of a king, but she's not proud or in this way. She's an humble, she is scary too. She do what she had to do, but in the painting she's she's smiling, she's something new, she's something terrible and attractive in the same time. And so this is related to a different moment of our history. And then we note that we don't have the perspective, we don't have nothing in no landscape, just color or something coming from a world that doesn't exist. We are trying to understand something. We are not in this world with a clear vision of everything. We see part of ourselves. When I talk, I see part of my glass, part of myself, my hands, and I am in the same reality of it's not another reality which I'm talking about. Another reality is not a window and I see everything. I'm not the center of the universe. I'm a part of the universe, and also my vision is part of the total vision. I'm not the eye. I don't have the eye of a god, and I see everything clearly. And also the visual thinking starts to change. We lost the perspective. Everything happened in a sort of surface until now. Now we are part of the composition, because now in the field of art we have the performance, the ambience, the installation, something related to us, something that talk with us. In some case, we're supposed to do something. And so we are part of a multi-universe. We are not anymore the center. And this is start with this confusion. She's starting to lost the part of herself and to confuse with the screen. This happened also in a lot of other painting. This is very famous, Demoiselle d'Avignon of Picasso. And also in this moment, he completely lose where we are. We are in a multi-place, and everything is, we can see part of the woman. And also in this case is a road in Paris, and these 5 persons are supposed to be 5 prostitutes probably, but she lost her place on the reality. She is confused with the everything, and the face in a free case coming from the African mask. We're starting also to lost our center. Until Manet, we just talk French with French, just like the France and the Europe supposed to be the center of the universe. These are Spanish masks and these are African masks. Everything is something new and is connected in a new way each other. And the vision of woman is a little changed. We're starting to use the portrait, not a particularly aristocratic woman, not a queen or a princess, but we're starting to use this to studying the expression and find something different. And it's unfinished because she's confused with a white, with something white in the field of the composition. She is in a page, in a sort of white page of, and so she's literally a drone. In this moment, not so easy to understand the time without you, but in this time we are in the after war, and we lost also the representation. We lost the perspective, we lost the portrait, and we lost the representation. She is a woman, and because the title, she is Olympia, and Olympia is her. She is related to her. A lot of painting in the history are related to her. Also this. In this case, Cézanne is a client of her, imaginary client, because he don't know her. And he start to say what Manet say about you. You are here and look at her in the eye. I am there. But she is not really on a bed. She is on a sort of cloud. She became a sort of dream, an imagination. And also Gauguin, when he go in Africa, say that this painting is related to Olympia because he go in that place with a little card, with a little postcard in which he drawn Olympia. But probably the subject is very different. She is on the back, and so she trusts about us because she's not on the front side, but on the back side is something related to trust about the painter. And she's dreaming, and this is a sort of magic figure of her culture that is awake on the dream, on her dream. And probably she is a little scared about this. But in this moment, he don't use really this culture, just in this subject, use the synthesis of the culture from Tahiti, but she is coming from Paris, from the culture of Paris. She's too well drawn. We had to wait until Picasso to find something different also in the ways of painting. But I'm supposed to be there. I am there. This is Olympia, and this is Olympia. In this case, and in this case, we have something completely different and something impossible to understand in the past until now, because this is related to the material, to a sort of poetry of the wall. Just like when you look at some wall and you figure it out to see something, and the form of this something is a little like Olympia, but Olympia is material, is something completely different, and completely different also here, because where she is, this is just sign and some word, but the word here is Olympia, and he write morte is dead here, and so is, in both cases we are in something new, the sensation of the subject. We lost the representation. In a first moment, we find the conceptual of the representation, the idea of something. In this moment, in a first moment. In a second moment, we try to find also the feeling, the sensation of the subject. And this sensation of a precedent subject can be related to the material, to the vision in a different way, to the word, to the sign, to something completely different. Everybody knows this. Probably Warhol is the only artist I can name to everybody, and the only artist of the 20th century I can name to everybody, and everybody know who is. But what's happened in this case? Marilyn, okay, is a subject, but is not a subject as a woman, or as a naked, or as a property, or as a feeling, or as a conceptual of the woman. It's something completely different, and it's not a little related to the daily life, but in a new way. She is the scenario of the death of Andy Warhol. What I mean, she's an icon. She's not a photograph of Warhol. She's a photograph of someone else. She's the most famous photograph of Marilyn. And so she's an icon, and an icon related to the imaginary of everybody. What's happened when I repeat the subject every time? He say, what is life? Life is a series of moments. A series of moments. Any moment is the same. It's always the same, and it's always different. What I mean, what I do today, I wake up, I go in my kitchen, I go in Rufa, I go from the same, I take the underground. It's the same series of image, but it's always different, and it's always the same. When I repeat Marilyn is the image, like Elvis, like image I know, image related to the contemporary moment. When I repeat it and I change, I find her immortality, because I kill her moment, I kill her mortality. She's not shy or funny or sad or nothing. she's in another place. She's not human anymore. She's not here with us. Marilyn are not in this artwork. Just her image, her icon, and the impossible idea to find the immortality of this moment, killing any part of mortality of this moment with the most important subject of this moment, of course. But until now, I'm just talked about woman as a subject in a different field of composition, but painted by men. Because in this moment, of course, we have in the Renaissance important woman artists. We have also in the Impressionism, we have Berta Morisot. But most of all, I want to show woman artists closer to us when they try to look at woman subject in a completely new way. I choose three closer to us. Francesca Woodman. She used the photograph, but also the photograph are related to what I say about the losing of perspective. The photograph are on the surface completely, and she's the subject, and so the artist see to herself, and he starts to disappear inside the home, inside the composition. She's trying to become a part of the entire, a part of the world she represents, and she represents ancient home, ancient house, in which she's naked, but in some case she's starting to move, and so we lost her representation, or starting to disappear in many ways. She's starting to be part of the composition, like the artwork is part of us. Like in this moment, we're starting to have the ambience as or the performance or the field of art in which we come and we are part of the artwork. Very different Nan Golding, because in this case it's an auto-portrait, and the effect of a man that believes she is her property because she something happened with her man, and she beat her. And this is an auto-portrait, is talking about the reality of this moment in which we're trying to look better to what happened in some case. And close with Jenny Saville. Also here we are in big sites, and we are in the field of the representation, but it's a new representation. It's more related to design. We are no more scary to show the painting, to show the drawing, to show the sign, to find a place in the middle between the representation and the feeling, the sensation and the psychology of the subject. The color is unreal, and so the representation of a personality and the introspection of this personality. what I want to say is to have to build something with curating and with management, and to find a new way to propose a new art. We had to have the tool of the visual thinking to understand what everything mean, what is a sign. A sign in lower part of the composition is more heavy, a sound in the upper part is more light. Also happened to the left and the right side is a little high. And try to read our time, our society, our moment, or also the Europe or the difference between the Europe, the Africa, or the USA, or the America, or the South America. The difference and the moment, because today we are more related than the past. It's more easy to read the world as a moment without difference, but I believe in some case we can find the style of a particular group, of a particular city, of a particular moment, and try to understand if there's something new, something interesting, something we can use to understand better this moment, related to the philosophy, related to phenomenology, to the psychology, to the society, and this is my idea of curating and art curating and art management. I am in the time, and so maybe it's the moment in which I can be at disposition to some question or something.
Perfect, Fabrizio. Hello, Arturo Rico here from Encuentro Creativo team. It was an incredible lecture, and I love how you went through all the different eras, the different styles, and of course, how women have been a center point of art, and how women have also portrayed other women.
Yeah.
Let me switch to Spanish to encourage everyone to ask something.
Of course.
Chicos, es una oportunidad única de tener un experto en arte, entonces por favor aprovechen y empiecen a dejar sus preguntas aquí en el chat. Nosotros con gusto se las vamos a leer a Fabrizio. So Fabrizio, we have one here from Patricia Garcia, and she asks, is visual thinking directly linked to the social context in which it is applied, or we could represent an idea out of the context?
I think the answer is a little in the middle, because if you live in this society, you are linked to the social context, just living. If you are an artist, I don't think you had to go too far to find your context, your moment, because when you go inside a gallery, an art gallery or a museum, a little you can understand if something is related to our time. If you see a little painting, impressionist painting, for example, and the date is 2020, you feel this like a little hold, like a little, you feel something strange. And so you just live in your time, and I think it's enough. It's enough. You are linked to your context, or maybe you are something new, or maybe you are something a little different to your context, but you've never been so much different. You're not Egyptian, you are not in the Renaissance.
Perfect. Oh, another thing that I also like is to see on your presentation is how it went, you know, from like the ancient Egyptians that were like murals, and then to paintings, and then to Andy Warhol interventions, and then to Nan Goldin photography. So, you know, we also took a look throughout the evolution of art. We have a lot of questions. Sanat Becerra says, bravissimo. Thank you so much for this lecture. Sanat also asked, how do you think the visual thinking and the conception of art affect the social imaginary of society?
In the way of, because it's a language. Also speaking is affected to society, and the visual language is a language. And so you speak in a way you are speaking. I think in some case you want to be an artist to say something with visual because you feel that your speaking is not enough. And you want to find in some other place. This place is the visual, and this place can be open. What I mean open, maybe what I say in a visual way is a little misunderstanding. You can misunderstand, but this misunderstanding can be interesting. And so it's more interesting if you don't close your representation, but if you leave a part to the viewer to understand a little what you want, you know. I lost the question, sorry.
No, that's perfect. Camila, this is really interesting. Camila says, what do you think about the new era of art made with artificial intelligence?
Yeah, this is very, very interesting. I don't know what I think, because in the 19, when, and also in the beginning of the millennium, a lot of very interesting artists from Serbia and from ex-Yugoslavia starting to work new kind of art. And they are related to Duchamp because they want to find a place where the art can be collective and can be related to a new contest, and to lose the artist as a unique creator. They find the Kodashi, you know, the Kodashi is you remember, like Matrix, the number in green in the black, and to use the code to design, I don't know, Bob Marley or something else, but it's another ways of thinking. In that one a little disappear, but now there's something else, something new. I don't think any innovation don't kill the ancient art in the exactly moment. When something new born, don't kill nothing, but both exist. And so I think and in a certain moment, both influence one each other. And so I think that can be a new tool that influence the painting, and the painting can influence the metaverse, and why not?
So on that, on the topic of your presentation that was mostly based on women in art, there are two comments on it. So Violeta Barba says, do you think that artists were attracted to painting prostitutes because they accepted to pose without pudor, or they were really interested in their particular lifestyle? And I think that's an ongoing topic, you know, prostitutes, dancers, cabaret performance, they were all present in art. And on that thing, people talk about sexism, you know? So what do you think about that?
Of course, there's sexism, and the woman is, in many cases, a property of the man. This is something related to that century. Of course, wrong, of course. And probably in when Manet is friend of Olympia, and also Picasso talking about the prostitute in a good way. And so seems like they are interesting to this new to their ways of life, because the transgression, because the freedom, or because something like this. I don't know exactly where the feminism start and when, what is the line. It's a different moment. But normally we read the art and the literature as like everything is, it was correct, but this is not. The male domain, it was reality, and I agree with the feminism, of course.
Okay, so another topic, Ninfa Osorio asks, is there any methodology for the iconographic analysis of art?
Yes, to read a lot. And to read there's something good writer. Also, I don't know so much about the Mexican writer. I'm pretty sure that exists a lot of good art critic. In the USA, I use a lot the book of Rosalind Krauss. She's a woman, she's an art critic, and she's coming from Clement Greenberg. I use Al Foster. It's not one methodology. In a book written by 5 art critics, the book is titled Modernism, Postmodernism, and now I don't remember, I write you, Anti-Modernism and Postmodernism, by Al Foster, Eva Lembois, and Rosalind Krauss. They find 5 different methodology in the introduction. One is related more to the psychology, one is related more to the sociology, and so it's not so easy. You have to be fascinated with this, you have to be curious.
Perfect. And on that note, Ana Nicoli asked if you have any opinion or any preference on Mexican artists from the past, from the present, you know, any good Mexican pieces of art that you like?
Yeah, they brought the name of the muralist of Diego Rivera or Frida Kahlo. There are such a great artists, both. I don't remember now. I'm pretty sure that I see someone closer to me, but I forget the name. And yeah, that moment it was very influenced because also the Western art changed with Siqueiros, Rivera, Kahlo. Everything is changed, and they find a new idea of representation.
So Sophia here is saying in the chat that Annette is in the chat. If you could please write down the name of the art critics so they can look up their work on the chat.
Give me just a second.
Yes, maybe I can give the word to Claudia in this moment to close the session while you type the names.
Okay, I find I write 2 name of critic, and a book is a bigger book, but you can read also everything about the same critic. And in this book, Art since 20th century, they're not just Al Foster and Rosalind Krauss, but also 2 or 3 other interesting critics. If you don't want to buy this book, it's a bigger book, you can be curious about this critic because they are good. Also, my mentor, you read the name of Enrico Crispolti. I don't know if it's translated in Spanish, maybe not, but it's interesting.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Fabrizio. It was a really interesting session. Thank you for sharing with us information here in the chat. Well, I'm going to switch to Spanish in order to give the final messages to the students, but thank you so much, Fabrizio. It was really interesting, and thanks to Rufa for all the support they had given us.
Thank you.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias a todos por acompañarnos en la primera sesión de esta semana de Encuentro Creativo. Los invitamos a visitar el sitio web, a conocer las otras actividades que llevaremos a cabo en el transcurso de esta semana. Todavía hay muchas ponencias. Esta tarde tenemos otras 4 actividades, así que los invitamos a que se sigan conectando e igualmente que descubran las bases, ya que Rufa está ofreciendo una beca para que puedan estudiar un curso de cine una semana en Italia. Así que bueno, visiten el sitio web. Las sesiones se están subiendo al canal de la Cámara de Comercio Italiano en México y al sitio web de Encuentro Creativo. A nombre de la Cámara de Comercio Italiano en México, les agradezco a todos por acompañarnos, agradecemos a la Embajada de Italia en México y a las marcas patrocinadoras que son Luxottica, Bulgari, Ferrari, Benetton, Seña, Smeg, Cartel, Natuzzi, Artemide, Moretti Brothers, Alfapar, Davide Groppi, Yamamay, Fernet Branca, Ferrero y Orfe México. Muchas gracias a todos y nos vemos en la siguiente sesión.